This morning I have a spicy topic. And I think it's to equip all of us because we all struggle with this. And if we know how to handle this and we live this out, then we can apply it to other people. You know, especially with the youth we're working with today, it's a huge struggle and it comes out in many different forms and ways. And so the topic is how to dissolve anger. It's about anger. So, you know, a friend of ours joked to us. She said, us Asians, you know, we only have three emotions: happy, angry, or sad. And I think that's true because, right, it's simplified, but I think we only know and express these three emotions and have the words for these three. You know, I used to be a super angry person. I was angry all the way from my childhood into my marriage. It was really destructive. It's really toxic. I brought in all the baggage from my childhood that I never unpacked, my reactions, my beliefs, my patterns, and it went into our marriage. And I was quite the feisty one, very passive aggressive and aggressive. So I used to process very externally. So I was like this hurricane, if you can imagine. And Stan was like the peaceful ocean. That is how he managed with my anger. So, you know, but after many years of leaving my stubbornness behind, my pride aside, you know, I just like, I have to be honest with myself. I need to become vulnerable. I need to open up. And, you know, learn how to open up and talk about my feelings and my thoughts and my past and not feel ashamed to do that. So I had to really fight through that. Okay, so this talk is to help us notice the signs of anger brewing and what to do with our anger before it becomes very harmful and destructive. So now I just want to talk about some key aspects of anger that we might not realize or we already realize. So anger sometimes is a stress response. You know, a stress response is a nervous system response. It's automatic. That's why it can be so automatic whenever we perceive that something's unsafe, something is very threatening. So, and it can start in childhood. So chronic anger, our childhood response to something safe or threatening, it's developed from childhood and it can come from childhood trauma. So the stress response, you might be familiar, is a fight, flight, freeze mode, you know, from our nervous system. So, for example, a flight might be, I want to run, just run. Or a fight, shouting back, cursing, screaming, using words. Or the freeze mode, shut down, silence mode. So sometimes it's going to be very automatic, deeply entrenched stress response. And the other thing is that we need to just accept that it's normal. Anger is a normal emotion. Just like it is normal to feel anger because it has a use, and accept that we all get angry. But it's a very complex emotion, right? Except that maybe see it like this. Everybody, so you see that picture of the iceberg? The tip of it is so small, right? And you only see the tip of the iceberg, but the rest of the iceberg is under the water and it's this huge piece. Well, anger is the tip of the iceberg. And what we really need to focus on more is under the water, the huge piece of the iceberg. Often we just react to the tip of the iceberg, but we really don't realize and see that, oh, there's more to this anger. There's the huge rest of the iceberg underneath. And that's normally unseen and ignored. And also know this too, anger is a protective emotion and it's a defense mechanism. So if you react with anger very suddenly and automatically, you're trying to protect something. You're trying to protect some more sensitive emotions deeper down. For example, if somebody mocks me in class and I get really angry at them, but my initial reaction is like, I'm protecting myself from feeling the hurt that's deeper down. And so the deeper sensitive emotion will be like, I feel humiliated. I'm so embarrassed. I feel shame. So anger A secondary emotion is predicting primary emotions underneath. And also, there's a good thing about anger too. It can be, because there's good anger. It can be expressed calmly and respectfully and assertively. And this is called assertive anger. And so most of us tend to think, we think of an angry person, this very loud, that was me, verbally, aggressive. And indeed is a powerful emotion, but anger has its little small beginnings as well. So it can be a bit of annoyance. It can begin with a little irritation, a little bit of frustration, or a bit of disappointment. But if you just ignore that and you just it doesn't matter, I'll just suppress it, I'll just put it aside and ignore that, it will just grow. So little emotions have a lot to tell us, and it pays for us to go, what is this? I better listen to this, because if I ignore it, it's just going to grow. So they fester, then we get triggered, and then anger is expressed in indirect and direct ways, which I'll talk about soon. And so, the trajectory of anger. So when it becomes a default mood, and that's what my mum used to say to me, she goes, you've got a very bad temper. But you know what? I used to take that as a license to get even more angry, because she did not know how to confront me or gently, But whose mum does? I'm not blaming my mum at all. Nobody knows this. Intergenerational cycles and patterns are passed down. If we don't challenge it and ask about it and look at it, then it will continue. The cycles and patterns, what we don't look at actually grows and continues, and it can overtake us. So we have to be sure to pause, listen, process. So when it becomes a default mood, right, it becomes very impulsive. It becomes very automatic, and it will grow problematic, because it will grow from annoyance, frustration, anger can be rage. And that is where, in the Bible, where Cain killed Abel. No, have I got that right? I just get the brothers mixed up. Yes. His rage, it grew to the point where it caused murder. And you can see that, so much violence that happens as you read in the news, and maybe it's happened to someone close to you. So what do we want to do with anger? Dissolve it, acknowledge it, notice it, dissolve it, and digest it. Digest means to process, by the way, not just to swallow. Dissolve and process it. And do it long before it gets to the point where it controls you. It controls your life. It controls your relationship. Okay, so here I love James 1:19. Actually, God gives us a really big key into dissolving anger. And believe it or not, it's about slowing down. So he says, and understand this, my beloved brothers and sisters, let everyone be quick to listen, listen in. What is this? Pay attention. And the AMP version, I love it. It says, be a careful, thoughtful listener. And I know he meant it to listen to other people, but this is applied listening to yourself, to your inner world, to what are my thoughts saying? What are my feelings saying? What are my imaginations saying? So then we become slow to speak and slow to react and blah, 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 And it says, slow to speak, a speaker of carefully chosen words. And then here's the result, slow to anger, patient, reflective, and forgiving. So James 1:19. Let's learn how to apply that not just to others, but to ourselves. So God, he provides the perfect example, right? Self-reflexive, self-reflective. So here's the thing about anger. Suppressed, pressed, expressed. Suppressed, pressed, expressed. So when we suppress emotions, just keep them down, ignore them, escape from them. Our body can only take so much. And when it's in there, it only when something happens, a situation happens, somebody says something, someone's facial expression triggers that, you're triggered, and then it explodes. It is that fast. It is that quick. So here's the thing, neither suppressing or expressing aggressive feelings are helpful or healthy. So suppressing is not healthy. Expressing aggressive anger is not healthy. It causes all sorts of problems. All right, so maybe we should look at categorizing anger. Generally, there are 3 categories. You might already know this. So now I have to say, and we tend to get it wrong. We tend to it's a sin to feel angry. No, that's not correct. The Bible actually tells us, be angry, feel angry, but just don't act on that anger. So it's okay. I mean, it tells us it's okay to feel angry. Even the Bible says to be angry and do not sin. So it's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to act on that passively or aggressively, because then we can lose control. It controls us. It takes over us. Before we know it, we've said or done something very regretful. And then we go into guilt and we go into shame, and then we get even more angry about that. And then we go into all these patterns and cycles, you see. So we need to learn how to break that and replace it. Okay, so 3 categories. Number 1, assertive anger. This is good anger, right? So when you feel that something is unjust and something is unfair or something is unsafe, they're strong feelings to prompt you to, I need to take positive protective action here. And this leads to positive change. So anger can be assertive that way. For example, what if your mum or dad or sibling or yourself was scammed of money, right? I believe this person and they just took all my money from my account. There's assertive anger because you're like, I have to take action. Oh, this is no good. This is bad. I need to report this to the police. I need to call the bank. So that's assertive anger. So that is a healthy, constructive way of expressing anger that allows you so you communicate your feelings, you communicate your needs and boundaries directly, calmly, and respectfully without aggression or passivity. Next category, so that's assertive anger. So we can use that kind of good anger to take action, to correct something, to make a positive change. Number 2 is passive-aggressive anger. Oh, it's one of my favorites. Plus the other one. was, okay? Was. So this is anger expressed indirectly. So it's not direct. It's not that obvious. It's kind of subtle. So we might not notice I am angry. We might not go, I am angry. Yes, I will do this. No, it can look unintentional. It can be accidental. And it might not be picked up by yourself or even others early on. And so let's look at some of the passive anger patterns that it's actually passive-aggressive anger. Sarcasm and mockery. Ever been sarcastic at someone and then mock someone like a little joke? So little as a slight, like there's something good, then there's something negative about that. That's a type of passive aggression. What about sulking and silent treatments? That's passive aggression. What about ghosting and withdrawing from conversations with others so quietly, so silently? What about withholding my emotions and withholding my presence and withholding information and withholding affection? Withholding what is good, what is necessary, what is needed is a type of passive-aggressive anger. What about procrastination? Son, can you take the rubbish out? Yeah, I will. And then never doing it. Procrastination. What about stubbornness? Nope. What about gossiping? An outlet, venting your anger about someone, at someone, as a way to indirectly get at them, to cause some kind of harm? And what about making snide remarks? Ooh, a little subtle, but gentle, but it was gentle. It was quiet, but it's a slip in there, a snide remark. Okay, so look at ways that anger looks very subtle, but I never saw that as anger. But it is, it's just passive-aggressive, indirect. And number 3, my personal favorite again. in the past. Openly aggressive anger. So obviously this anger is very direct, it's obvious, it's hostile, it's forceful, it's loud, it's physical, it's psychological, it's verbal. So it's very obvious and it's violent. And you can go, oh, that's anger. That is very angry. So verbally, when we use words to yell and to shout and to scream and curse, by the way, we can displace or transfer this anger into something else. I know somebody was like, you'd never think she was an angry person, always laughing, making jokes. But whenever she get into the car, oh my gosh, road rage. It's like, ooh, who is this person? Oh, she even surprised herself. But sometimes it is displaced. You place it on into another situation, onto someone else. So it came out and we're like, oh, when you never get angry. She goes, that's true. I only get angry in the car. That's just displaced anger. Because why? Maybe you feel safe doing that. You think I'm not harming anyone. But you're harming yourself. And it's leaking out somewhere else. And the road rage can cause serious circumstances, right? Serious consequences. Yeah. And I know someone who would so road ragey that get out of their car and they would go and run to someone and they'll tell them off. Or they'd chase them in the car. And these are Christians, by the way. That is a huge problem and an iceberg underneath that needs to be dealt with. Right? So it can be verbal. It can be physical. Of course, we know using physical force, throwing, punching, kicking. You know about that one. Psychological. It can come across as criticizing someone, putting them down, finding fault. Can come across as bullying, can come across as threatening somebody, can come across using manipulative words. We can be ambushing someone. By the way, this doesn't have to be through physical contact. It can be through messaging. It can be by putting up messages on social media. It can be, all those sorts of ways. Causing fear-mongering, instilling fear in somebody. Okay. And guess what? The thing is, if we continue in this cycle, it can be highly addictive. Anger is highly addictive. Do you know why? Because we feel relieved straight after that. If I've shouted, if I screamed after that, I feel relieved. And I feel like actually a sense of power and control, especially if the other person stays quiet and they keep hearing me. It's toxic, very toxic. Okay, so then we can dump or vent anger in the moment. It feels good. Yes, it releases some dopamine in our brain, some kind of relief. But then your brain and body is on high alert, right? And then you're like, so alert. And you just feel so much more, you feel alive, but it's a bad, unhealthy alive. And then so it becomes something you can default to. That's why anger can be you're like 0 to 100 in a second, 0 to 100 in a second, because of the pattern, the cycle that's there. And because it does bring up some kind of high and temporary relief, it doesn't fix anything. It does not resolve anything. So just know that the more anger you exercise, the stronger it gets. Now, there's stuff in the secular world about, it's good to vent your anger, punch the pillow or go to some retreat and go boxing and, get it out, vent it, or vent it to someone. No, that's wrong. The more we vent anger, it's like a muscle that we use, the stronger it gets, the more you feed it. So it's not about venting. It's not about venting at all. You will catch yourself in a very, very vicious cycle. And then what does venting anger lead us to? When the angry muscle is so strong, it's so automatic. Well, because we start to feel bad, right? I feel so guilty. I'm a bad person. Shame. The difference between shame and guilt, by the way. Guilt, I've done something wrong, which sometimes is good because then you go, well, what can I do right and how can I fix that? But then there's a guilt that can weigh us down to the point that it edges into shame. And shame is, there's something wrong with me. So always notice the difference, whether it is guilt speaking to you or shame. But anger can bring on both. both guilt and shame. And those are very, very, very unbearable feelings we hate to feel. And so then I have to escape, I have to numb myself, I have to do something to medicate myself, I need to comfort myself, so we can get addicted. This anger of addiction can lead to other addictions. So what is our go-to addictions that make us feel comforted, temporarily, surface level? Anything. Shopping, online shopping, gambling, pornography, you name it. Alcohol, drugs, substance use, drugs, all these things numb us temporarily. But then we can get highly addicted to that and get stuck into that cycle. So that's why it's important to get to the root of our anger. We need to get to the root of the anger. And I don't have time to get into that, but it's just today, it's just like, how do I actually dissolve the anger in order to process it to the point that I can actually go to the root of it? So it's about dissolving it to process it today. And so some strategies. Yeah.